Welcome to That Thing I Read That Time, where I take a book and translate it into a visual representation or mind map to hopefully encourage new thoughts, ideas, and connections. Hope you enjoy. Today we are going to be talking about The Four Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz. I have had a lot of conversations about this book lately, and it is not a new book. It is definitely an old book, and it is fantastic. I highly recommend everybody read it, but for those of you who would prefer the summary, here we go. I find that the intro is the thing that I ponder on the most. So let's go ahead and start with the intro. He talks about the smoky mirror, but honestly, it took me about 10 readings of the intro before I could wrap my mind around it. So here is where I am at with the smoky mirror. Let's say that we are like bats, and everything that comes into our world is through vibration, and everything that we send out is through vibration. So whether we're talking about light vibrations that helps us see things, which the vibrations come in, and depending on the type of vibration, our eyeballs translate it into visuals that are in our head. So if what we're seeing is actually what's real, is all up to the way that our brains translate it. One way that we can see the proof of this, that we see things that aren't real or we don't see things that are real, is that experiment. They look at people passing a ball, and in the end, you say, okay, how many times did they pass the ball? But did you see the gorilla? And even when you are expecting to see the gorilla, even when you know a gorilla is coming, when you're concentrating on how many times they pass the ball, you still miss the gorilla often. Another way to think about this is whenever you have migraines and you start seeing lights around you, those lights aren't real. Those lights are in your head. The gorilla was real, but you did not see it because all of it is based off of what's happening in your head. Or whether you're talking about sound vibrations like bats, then again, oftentimes there's a bunch of research around this. We hear things that are not real, or we do not hear things that are real. This is when you're in a restaurant and people are talking around you. You have a whole bunch of ambient noise, and you have no idea what the conversations are around you because you're focusing on the person in front of you. Then somebody yells fire, or you start to hear a baby choking. Then all of a sudden you're focused in on what is happening with that baby, even though you didn't hear the baby before. You had no idea there was a baby there until you heard the baby choking, and all of a sudden that baby became real to you in your head, because whatever is happening with the sound on the outside of the world doesn't matter. All that matters is what's happening in your head. Or whether you're talking about texture vibrations, right? So if you touch something and it feels a certain way to you, that's because of the vibrations, the electrical vibrations that are moving through your body up into your brain and giving you that feedback. So another way to prove that this is not real, that we are not experiencing a real world here, all we are experiencing is what's happening in our brain. This is why whenever you leave the dentist, it's really important to not eat, because you will chew your lips, because it is real, even though you are not aware that it is real, because it is all about vibrations and feedback that is happening in your brain. So basically, just like that guy on MIB, Men in Black, where he is a very little person inside of a giant man operating his man suit, we are just brains operating our human suit. And the colors that we see, whether we see something at all, whether we hear something at all of these things are based off of the experiences that our brain has And it has actually nothing to do with what is actually happening in the real world. The man calls this the smoky mirror because he says that everything that we're looking at is just a mirror, but whether or not we can see things depends on all of this other feedback that's coming back to us, the vibrations that are coming back to us. Also, it's the filters that are applied to the mirror. So if we have a filter of judgment applied to this mirror, then when we look at a situation, instead of seeing beauty, it will come back. So for example, if you're allergic to roses, if you look out and see a rose, instead of seeing something beautiful, lovely, wonderful, you look at it and think danger. Then that, through those filters of roses mean danger, it comes back to you, and that is what we process and experience in our brain. All of this and the filters that are applied to our mirror as we are getting things bounced against other things and coming back to us, Ruiz calls domestication. He says we domesticate ourselves, our children, the same way that we domesticate pets. We let them know when they've done good, and we let them know when what they've done is displeasing. So you can take a baby and put that baby in Africa, and it will learn to speak that language. You put the same baby in Russia instead of Africa, and it will learn to speak that language. You put that same baby in America, and it will learn to speak that language. Why? Is it because all the babies are born learning language? No. It's because we domesticate them and let them know, oh, this is how you say mama. This is how you get attention. These are the different things that when it comes back to you is good. So do this, don't do that. And all of these rules that we apply that impact how we see the mirror are our agreements. Domestication is what is done to us in order to get our agreements. First off, domestication is done to us by our parents. Then it is done to us by organizations like school, church, whatever. And then finally, we train ourselves up using a book of law that we create. So we start to domesticate ourselves. This is good. This is bad. This is how much weight I should have. These are the things that I should eat. This is healthy. This is unhealthy. This is how much I should move. This is the level of cleanliness that I'm comfortable with. The kitchen can never have dishes in it, or the kitchen has to be cleaned once a day, or the kitchen has to be cleaned once a week, or I need to hire a maid to clean the kitchen because that's not my job. All of these things are rules. Those rules are our agreements that we make, and that come about because of domestication. So now that we've established that, the world that we experience actually has nothing to do with the real world, we can realize that we are in a form of the matrix, in that the interaction that we have, the stuff that is happening around us, none of it's real. It's all just feedback. It's all just perception. All of it is just perception. And so we can literally change the world around us, change what we see, change what we hear, change how we feel by changing the filters that are applied, so that whenever the information is coming away from us or back to us, when the information is moving, those vibrations are not filtered appropriately, or are filtered in a way that it can send us a different message. So the way that he recommends us doing that is what he calls the 4 agreements. So the first agreement is be impeccable with your word. Again, I have spent most of my time talking about the intro, so I definitely recommend that you read the book if this appeals to you at all. But the idea of being impeccable with your word is stop lying to yourself. Stop putting limiting beliefs on yourself. I can't do that. Today, I jumped into a cold plunge whenever I am very sensitive to cold, and everything in me was saying, no, don't. You will die. You will hate this. This is terrible. Those are limiting beliefs. How many times do we allow limiting beliefs that we tell ourselves to become real because we make them real? Or I've seen children do it. I can't ride a bike. I can't ride a bike. I can't ride a bike. Even though you've seen them ride a bike before, and they get up there and they instantly fall over with a, and you know that they didn't even try. They just manifested their reality. This is like speaking a spell on something. We create a world based off of our lies, and we need to stop that by being impeccable with our word. Don't take anything personally. So let's agree that we are surrounded by vibrations, and the vibrations are going out of us, and the vibrations are coming into us, and we are surrounded by this cloud of vibrations that is all filtered through our shield. So this shield that we put around us is our book of law. It is our filters. It is judgment. It's our agreements, the agreements that we were programmed with. What is okay? What is not okay? And everyone else has their own bubble, their own shield, and they are just around us. They are not experiencing the same reality that we are experiencing. Taking something personal is basically thinking that you are the center of everyone else's universe, the same way that you are the center of your own universe. One way that this looks is while you're driving, you are in your vehicle and you have a purpose. You have a place to go. You have something that you're working on, and all of this traffic around you is preventing you from being successful, is stopping you from your very important goal, the important place that you need to be. So you are important, and everyone else is traffic. That is the center of the universe. Instead of recognizing that every one of those people has an important place to be and something important that they're trying to do, that they're filtering into their own reality, and that to them, you're traffic in their way to keep them from their very important purpose. So you can't take anything personally, because if anybody does anything to you, it doesn't have anything to do with you. You are not the center of their universe. Maybe the reason that they are trying to get to their doctor's appointment or whatever has nothing to do with you. And the reason that they cut you off is because they have something that's going on in their mind, not because they were trying to hurt you or whatever. So there is no reason to retaliate. There's no reason to get revenge. There's no reason to teach them that you can't be treated that way when they were never doing it to you. They were just doing it. It never had anything to do with you. Nothing anyone does has anything to do with you. Nothing anyone says has anything to do with you. So if I say, that's ugly, that is based off of my filter that I'm applying, my angle and perception that I'm using, my agreements that I got from the domestication that happened to me. It has nothing to do with you. At the same time, if somebody tells me that it's beautiful, that too has nothing to do with me. So when someone tells me I did a bad job, that's based off of their judgment, their position, their opinion. When someone tells me I did a good job, it's the exact same thing. Every one of us is walking our own path. Every one of us has a path that looks different, and none of us can say what is the right path, how to walk on the path, where we should be on the path. And we have no idea what anyone else's path looks like. So, how can I tell anyone that their path is wrong? Because I have no idea what their journey looks like. The third one is don't make assumptions. We can't assume that we know why somebody did or said anything. This is along the lines of don't take anything personal. And they all kind of start to work together, and you start to see how all of this works together. So if we can't assume that someone is doing or saying anything for any particular reason, we definitely can't take it personal, but also we can't assume that they know why we are doing or saying anything. That's called mind reading, and that's not fair. Just like we cannot read their minds, we are not the center of their universe. They cannot read our minds. So we need to ask questions. We need to make requests. There is no such thing as you should have known. There is no such thing as, well, if I tell you, then it won't mean as much. Because all you're doing is punishing them for not being in your head. Anytime that you expect someone to know something without you saying it, you are making assumptions. And you're asking them to make assumptions. And worse, we often punish people when their assumptions are wrong. If you want someone to give you flowers on Valentine's Day, the only way they'll know is if you tell them. And if you don't want someone to get you flowers on Valentine's Day because you think it's a waste of money or you're allergic, the only way they'll know is if you tell them. And if you think that you telling someone takes away the benefit, takes away the pros, takes away any value, then I challenge that the agreement that you are living under, the thing that you have been domesticated with, is that mind reading is necessary. And that's not human. That's not fair. The last one is do your best. That means do not do less than what you're capable of in any moment. And do not do more than what you're capable of in any moment. If in this moment, based off of my energy, my time, my other pressing needs, where I am, I only have the ability to stay in bed because I recognize that I am not fit for human consumption, then that's where I need to be. And that is my best. If I only have the ability to do so much with where I am, with what else I have going on, then I need to allow myself to do that and to be that and to not punish myself and to be able to say, you know what, I can't go and do this activity right now because I cannot show up as the person that they deserve me to be. And I can not energetically be someone that I am proud of. Or be honest with people and say, you know what, my brain is really fuzzy. I can't have this conversation right now, but I really want to be around you. Can we have this conversation later? Recognize what you're capable of right now and do that thing. And don't punish yourself when energetically you are doing your best. Also, don't do less than what you can do, because then you'll be disappointed in yourself. And remember that the reason that we're here, the reason that any of us are doing any of this incarnation as a human is to live. The reason we show up to places, it's not just so we can reap a reward. We show up to live. We show up to experience. So what is the point of getting something done as fast as possible? If what you're doing is hiking and you get to the end of the hike where you're going to see the waterfall or whatever, and you ran the whole way, then what did you miss along the way? What did you rush through that could have been beautiful, that could have been important? Or maybe all you want to do is get to the end so that you can see that waterfall. And that's okay too. But don't get to the end and realize that along the path you forgot to live because you were so wrapped up in your limiting beliefs and worrying about other people and using that filter to hurt those around you and to hurt yourself by pushing off judgments that you were domesticated with. I really recommend checking out the book. It's pretty great.